via Zoom. Very excited to have Dr. Heinz Plaumann here this evening to talk to us about our passions and not failing to plan, and our creating a roadmap, navigating our roadmap. So we're very grateful to our friends of the library for sponsoring this program, and thanks so much for coming tonight.
Thank you for coming. I'll introduce myself in my elevator speech. I spent most of my life working in the chemical industry. Gosh, it's big in this area, but I've worked a number of places in the world, and much of that was in leadership roles, leadership managerial roles. And one of the things that I developed while doing that was a passion for helping other people develop themselves to have what I call a life fully lived. What's a life fully lived? It means that you are actually fulfilling all the elements in your life in a way that's going to be really rewarding for you, so that when we all kind of come to the end of it, we can say, that was a good life. So that's kind of the stuff that's in my background. Well, I've met you all already, and normally if I had a larger crowd, I would say, well, how many musicians do we have? How many poets? How many people working in the auto industry? I would just get a survey of where we are today. But with the group here, and I can't do that with you guys online, too bad. Anyways, it's just a survey of seeing, so who's here? Who am I talking to? Whose lives can I touch? One of the things that we have, I'm going to just talk about this little diagram here. This is not math, but it is called a Venn diagram. It's these three circles. And what I'd like you to do is just read to me one way you could plan your life. I'm going to give this to one person in the audience here. You can plan your life by doing this, and you're a little further away. And so what are the three things you could do to plan your career and your life? What does it say? Coulda, I coulda.
Woulda.
I woulda.
Shoulda.
I shoulda. I coulda, woulda, shoulda. So are those helpful to us? Not really. Not really. So what are the things that we would like to look at? Before COVID, if you can remember back then, more than 50% of North American workers unhappy in their jobs and their careers. Has it gotten better or worse now after COVID?
Probably not.
You think more people are happy in their jobs? Here's a phrase they're calling this the Great Resignation this time. Why is it? What do they call it? Barbecue, right?
I think people, because of COVID, they had time to, when they were at home and to reflect what was going on in that. And, they thought, some thought, I'm going to change my career. Is this worth
Yes.
it? Or,
I'm going to change my career because I'm not getting that life fully lived.
mm-hmm.
So this era now is called the Great Resignation because people are leaving like crazy, just quitting. And that's a real problem for employers because right now, so many areas, so many businesses can't hire enough people. It's a big problem. It's Great Resignation. And that's all because people could not feel fulfilled. So rather than coulda, woulda, shoulda, how I should have planned my career and my life, I'm going to suggest that we can do something else. I'm going to suggest that we can talk about things, and I handed out a little sheet here, and I'm going to, because it's a Zoom meeting, it's okay, I can come over and show it to you. This is a career roadmap. It's wonderful having Zoom. I did a Zoom meeting with a group in North Carolina today, and I did much the same. I want to talk about these three things. Instead, let's talk about your passion. Stuff that you just love to do. You get on the bench and say, man, I can't really wait to go do that. It can be practicing guitar or piano or something, whatever it is. Everybody's got a passion they just love to do. So we can talk about that as being one of these circles, your passion and your purpose. You have a purpose in your life. There's a reason why you're breathing. I say, as long as I have breath, I got a purpose. Mine happens to be to touch other people and help them have fully lived lives, to encourage them and help them grow. So one of them is passion and purpose, and there's another one, I call it the big four. What are the big things that really are important to you in your life to have that life fully lived? The next point that I'm going to put on this diagram is competence. You have to know something. Man, I would like to play violin for the DSO, the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. You know why I can't? Because I can't play violin. So you have to know how to do something. So you need some confidence. We need to have passion and purpose, the stuff that really energizes us, and then you have to know how to do something. It's in the last circle. You have to eat. You have to do something somebody's going to pay you to do. So we have to eat. So we're looking at stuff that motivates you and energizes you, stuff that you know how to do, and then that people will pay you for. Sometimes when we talk about starving artists, the problem lies down here. They're really passionate about, let's say, playing music. Have a small music gig and I play with musicians. They suffer down here. They're passionate and they practice all day long and nobody pays them to play. You know how many groceries they can buy with that? Not much these days. So part of this is the diagram to say, I need energy in me to do something that's fun. And I didn't really like it. And a lot of times it's related to other people. But I have to know how to do something. I've learned to do something. And boy, I need to eat. So I need to get some food. I need to do something. Anybody have any questions or comments? Not yet? All good, all good. Not really all good, but it's okay. We'll continue. So what we're going to take a look at is some different approaches to this. And sometimes I call this talk, what then, what now, what next? And what I'd like you to do is think about this. Think back to where you came from. What's some stuff that you did in your life? Think about where you are now. What are you doing now? Where do you want to go with this? And in the what then? I'd like you to do this, and I'm going to give you some post-it notes to write this on, or you have a piece of paper there. Think in what you are doing now, 3 things that you really like to do. You want to keep that. So take a couple of 3 things that you said, this is so much fun, I'm passionate, I really like doing this. This is great. And then I'd like you to think of a few things and say, you know, I wish I didn't have this. And stuff I want to keep doing because I enjoy it. Stuff I wish I didn't have to do. And then finally, 3 things you wish you could do. And I call that kind of a 3x3 exercise. Looking at where am I today? Answering this poor guy's questions. Where am I today? This is what I'm doing. This is what's fun. I'm passionate. Remember we talked about passion and stuff? That's what I'm passionate about. I know how to do stuff, and people pay me, so I need. What are some things you say, I like doing this, this is fun? Some stuff you say, man, you know, it's not so much fun. Don't want to say it's drudgery, but it could be. It's work. They call it work because it's work. And the last one is stuff that you wish you could do. Man, I wish I could do that. I wish I could play violin for the VSO. Actually, no, that's not true. So let's talk about that for a minute. If you would like to talk about it, if anybody would be open to share stuff with you, I can tell you the stuff that I love to play music. I love to do this kind of stuff and teach. I don't always get opportunities for that. I do teach part-time at Wayne State University. For me, what's really rewarding is to convey some of the stuff in my life experiences to younger students, or to students that are much younger than me. In fact, I think all the students now are younger than all of my kids. I'm going to say that. Oh yeah, they're younger. All of my kids have graduated. So the first one here is what then? Look behind and say, so where am I now? Anybody feel they're comfortable to share anything on that?
As far as what?
What are things that you really like doing? And this is Andy, by the way. If you don't know him. He protects us in brown towns.
You know what, believe it or not, I like building things.
Yes. Andy's really a carpenter and skilled in those kind of things. But that's not your day job. Your day job, you're a police officer in Brownstown.
Right.
Which you like also, I guess.
Okay.
Maybe you're here to say, I gotta say that. So that's an example of, this is stuff that I really like to do. I love building things because then you can say, look, I created this and stuff. Anybody else? What kind of things you like to do?
Teaching yoga.
Teaching yoga, yeah.
Being with kids and also fitness exercise.
Oh, good for you.
Always.
I love to hate yoga because it hurts. You know, I got all these stiff spots.
Gentle yoga.
My kids are so much into yoga. They say, come to class with his dad and you don't go. How about you? Things that you like to do?
I wrote on here projects, like home improvement projects, creating, destroying, creating. I like being challenged and learning.
So you're good on demolition in the construction project.
Two passions. Carry that on, put it back together.
I build and destroy.
Well, that-
I didn't put that right. The story comes first.
And then my third one was we need to slow down a little bit. And I'm like,
Okay, that's time planning and management stuff. Aaron, how about you?
Oh, gosh, probably should say reading.
Oh, reading, yes.
I do love.
That's smart,
helping
read something,
people
yeah.
find- I love helping people where they're,
Okay.
that's.
Very helpful. Okay. So when we see we've got this mixture of stuff, again, it comes back to that other diagram, stuff I know how to do, stuff I'm competent in and I'm passionate about. And then the stuff I wish I could do and stuff that, you know, what else can I do? And that it's a 3x3 thing that you can take a look at later. So this kind of summarizes where we are now, but it already gives us some indications of what could I do next. So this is the what then, looking back. What now kind of describes where you are now. What next? What I'd like to do is create what's called a roadmap. Almost a map. If you wanted to travel to Lansing, it'd be a good idea to have a map. Or you cheat like I do and have ways, right? I don't have maps anymore. But it's a good idea. Stephen Covey in his book 7 Habits talks about the second habit is beginning with the end in mind. This is where I'm going. So we want to create what's called a career roadmap to get there. All right, let's see where that is. So does anybody have any questions? We're looking at back, we're looking at now, and they were saying, where else could I go? And where else we could go is captured somewhat in what you've already said. Is that true? It's already captured something. Because your passions are already captured. And you want to grow them. You want them to keep growing. Right? Passions are fun. Those are the things that we like to do. So what I'd like you to think about. Yeah. I put down that it's simple. Well, it's not that simple, but yet it is. I want you to think of these 3 steps. The first one is basically know yourself. Which is really your passion, your skills, the stuff we've already talked about. So this is what I like to do. This is what I can do. I will never be a pilot. Show you a map in a second. I'll tell you why I'll never work in a bank. It's not my passion. Know yourself. Then create options around that. Create some options, things that you can then test and explore. Finally, make a plan. And then work the plan. If you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. I didn't think of that. I'm not that smart. I steal from lots of smart people. But if you don't make a plan, you are planning to fail. Fail the plan means planning to fail. So we're going to talk about these. This already we've talked a little bit about already. Stuff that you have. And create some options. Let's take a look at what can be in the future. Let's look at some other stuff down. And then we're going to see, well, how do I get there? Yeah, it's a roadmap. How do I get from here? Lansing. By going through. Okay, going through Port Huron. Well, now we're getting a complicated map. Does this all make sense? I hope you're all on the same page, so to speak.
Just move that over to something, and so it could be seen on the camera. Yeah.
Turn it like this?
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you. This looks like an engineering diagram of some kind. That's not what it is. It's a career roadmap. So let's start here and start here. Well, you already said where you were. This is what I do. This is where I am today. And we talked about what could next steps be here. And that's where you have the diagram. You can fill those things in and say, well, I could do this next. I don't know. You do a lot of renovation type work. Have you done that with any other people? Have you done anything like that with Habitat for Humanity? If that's of interest to you?
No, definitely not competent enough to go to that far yet. Mostly it's just my house.
Would it be of interest to you?
Oh, definitely.
So you could talk to Andy, who's expert at building stuff. I mean, you guys can learn from each other, right?
I could learn a lot from him.
I'm absolutely terrible. Like I can sand wood until it's done. So the question here is, starting where you are, you can only start from where you are. What might the next step be? Well, I want to learn, it could be, I want to learn more about refinishing. I want to learn more about construction. I want to learn more about home renovation. Or say, it's a hobby. It's a hobby. A hobby is a different thing than a career and a real calling in life. Calling in life is just going to become your legacy. Your legacy is like the ripples of your effect after your life is over. You still leave some ripples for that. So that becomes your calling. So there are things in here that you could actually write down on your thing and say, I wonder about this. You could put something like that. So you teach yoga. Is there anything beyond yoga that you might be interested in? Would you like to run a yoga studio?
No,
No?
no, my background was academic teaching, so I like being with kids and adults and, just sharing, my passion with them through literacy and then also carrying out my mother's legacy. She was a Rosetta Riveter, so.
Sure, yeah.
So
What you have, this is great, Bob. This is terrific. We've already talked about a few of these, and you talked about a never do. A thing called the never do. I have some never do's in my life. I mentioned never going to work in a bank. What's wrong with working in a bank? It's not my passion, not my competency. One of my daughters did for a long time. I'm glad for her, not me. I'm never going to work in the medical field. What's wrong with that? Not my passion, not my skill set. Two of my kids do. One's a nurse, the other one's a nurse practitioner. I guess she's trained to be a nurse practitioner. So I'm glad for them. They're fulfilling their dreams and their passions, not me. So there are things here that we can call never do's, but we can put some stuff into that piece of paper and say, these are the things I could do next. And then the question is, how do you get there? And one of the best ways to do that, I found, is talk to people who do that. When I worked in the chemical industry, a lady came and said, I want to go into sales. I really want to go into sales. I said, why? Because it's going to be so cool to deal with the customer and close this down. And they're happy and we're happy. And it's all good stuff. So I said, here are 3 names of salespeople. Go talk to these 3 people. Ask them, what do you do? What do you like about it? What would you change about it? What don't you like about it? She came back about a month later and said, I'm never going into sales. What happened here? You were so on fire, you wanted to go to sales. What happened? Well, I talked to the first person. First person said, I live at the airport and live in a suitcase. I have 1 million frequent flyer points. That's so cool because I can take my family on vacation. Cool. Sounds good. Second person said, well, I have 1 million frequent flyer points. I live out of a suitcase. I travel all the time. My third wife says it's great. Okay, so it's got pluses and minuses. So there are things here that you can take a look at. But a large part of that is we don't know what we don't know. And so the easiest thing is to talk to people. To say, who can I talk to about this? How did I end up here at all? I saw something advertised and I was picking up a book and I asked Aaron, said, you guys have speakers? Once in a while. Do you need a speaker? Sure. Well, and so this is the kind of thing, it's a tool you can fill in, you can actually work on it and write down some stuff. And if you wanted to contact me and say, Heinz, I don't know who to talk to, I've got a network that goes like, there are a few billion people I don't know yet on earth, but I know lots and lots of people. I don't know if you guys use LinkedIn at all, but on LinkedIn, I've got like 7,000 contacts. And my wonderful spouse of over 40 years says, you're crazy, you don't know anything about this. And I tell her, I can tell you something about every one of them. Happens to be a guy. Here's a guy. He's an engineer in England. I can tell you he's also a hobby jazz guitarist. I can tell you what kind of guitar and what kind of amplifier he uses. Why? It's just fun to know people. You connect with them like that. You connect with people that way. So part of it here is to say, what is the next step I could take? And you can make this kind of time planning thing. I'm going to show you. I think, well, I did bring some copies. This is my roadmap from, how long ago do you think I would have written my first road?
Stop here. I think I have the answer.
Well, I'll hand it to you. And we are downsizing, like many people, I'll say my age. And so we're cleaning out lots of stuff. So I found this thing, the actual original thing in a box in the basement where it belongs. That was 1985. And I just started in the chemical industry a few years before that. I said, well, I could do this, I could do that, and I could do that. And then I think I wrote on there, yeah, and I actually moved to some of those jobs. Those are jobs, but they're not really careers. No one would have told me a few years ago and said, oh, you're going to retire and then you're going to pivot to have fun doing this. And this is so rewarding and so much fun for me to coach people like you. I was saying earlier, I ran a workshop for people in Charlotte, North Carolina today, lunch and learn. Started at 11:45, went to 12:45. About time planning, how they can actually get more mileage out of the time they have. Every one of us has got 168 hours a week. That's all. Well, I threw some other just information at these folks and they kind of, oh, really? I said, well, your career is about 80,000 hours. What? Wait a minute. Your career, typically you're going to work 80,000 hours. HR people will say, oh, yeah, the 2080. You work typically about 2,080 hours a year. Just do the math. And you're going to work about 40 years, that's about 80,000 hours. But you're only going to live 4,000 weekends. What? 2,000 weekends is about 80 years. And I hit them with that and I said, you're really morose. Boy, you are really sad. But it's just that information like that, you can start thinking, you know, I really do need to think about the rest of my life because it's coming at me fast. For every one of us, it comes at us so fast. And you really see that when you see your kids and your grandkids grow. Wait a minute, how come you're this tall now? So this is kind of a plan to do stuff, a roadmap for doing a number of things like that. And the way to get there, the way to get to that life fully lived, I'll just put that up at the top here, is to talk to a lot of people. Talk, because there's a ton of stuff we don't know. I'm amazed. Andy and I, we've had lunch, I don't know, a number of times. I'm just amazed at the stuff he teaches me. I'm not a good renovator. I pay people to do that stuff. My wife and I say, Jordan, I say, oh, that'd be a place to park. But he can do it himself. He's smart, skilled that way. It's in his confidence. Now, my brother rebuilds houses too. He lives in Ontario and he basically disassembled our house, but new floors, cabinets, everything. Great hobby for him. I tell him he should start a company good. At any rate, so this is where we are. Does anybody have any questions? Because there's not much more I can do for you unless you come to me and say, Heinz, can you help me connect with something? I have, I'm going to move this one here so that you can see it. So how my name is spelled, and you would have seen it on the poster, but it doesn't matter. It's really Heinz, it's like ketchup, it really is. I give a talk about mindsets and biases and prejudices and stuff like that. When first thing I put up the sign is, you're already thinking stuff. What am I thinking? You're thinking he's German, but he doesn't have an accent. Because I was born in Canada. I have that accent. Hey, it's not A, this is hockey. So my name is Heinz Plaumann. The best email address. It's so funny because people say, well, Canadians always say A. I'm very careful about saying always and never, because I don't want to say never, they're almost never true. You know, he always did that, she always says that, not always, frequently. So when we moved here from Germany, we found that people in Michigan say A as much as Canadians, and I think it's a hockey effect. I don't know. Anyways, the best email to get me is HM, my last name, and Gmail. And if you wanted to sit down and talk about any of this stuff and say, I don't know who does this stuff, I'm interested in this. Who do you know? I will probably find somebody for you. If I don't know them, I will meet them. I will seek them out for you. So I'm here to help because my passion is to help others like you guys have lives. Does anybody have any questions? How are we? Gosh, we're way up. It depends, way early. It's never wrong to end a meeting early, is it? No, look, I have a room that says, no, it's never wrong. That was part of my discussion today in my presentation. I said, well, what if you plan an hour meeting and it only goes 45 minutes? Enjoy your coffee and donuts, man. We don't have coffee and donuts there. If you guys have any questions, let me know. And please, what I'd like you to do, if you would, just send me a test email to say, hi, I was in your class, had fun, blah, blah. If you do that, and then I can connect with you. And if you want any help connecting with other folks, I'm glad to do that. Anybody have any questions?
Millions.
A million. Yeah, a million. Do you have any questions these other people can help you answer?
Not right now.
Okay, so we'll wait and talk about that.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of other stuff that we do. Again, I'm not here selling stuff. But we do stuff like I mentioned, we do workshops on time planning, we do ones on social styles, how to interact with people, on stuff like that. So we do a bunch of stuff like that. Again, just helping other people have lives fully lived. Because that's what my legacy is going to be. Yes.
If somebody is thinking about a different career path, do you recommend that they go through channels of talking to other people within those careers versus, looking at job ads and changing them and applying for jobs blind? And
It's all yes. Then I think the most useful thing is where you start say talking to other people. A complicated thing would be say, I want to be, well, let's pretend that I wanted to be a police officer. So I would go and take the courses and get myself certified as a police officer and find out I hate it. And Andy is doing a wonderful job what he does, and he's very passionate about that. But he has other passions too. So if I sat down with police officers and said exactly that, what do you do? What do you like about it? What would you change about it? If I had that information, then I could look at it and say, maybe that's a never do. Maybe that's a never do. So to get that information before you embark on looking for the jobs, once you start to look for a job, what happens? Interviews happen. Once you get interviewed, then you might get offers. Once you get offers, then you have to sit there and say, man, sounds pretty good, but I don't want to say no. Or I can't say no, or whatever. Aaron, does that make sense? I would talk to people first.
yeah. Because I think that, I don't know if anybody has been through the process of looking at jobs, it can be very soul crushing.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that you deal with rejection a lot. There's a job for you, and finding it is the needle in the haystack. So I'm dealing with a guy right now. He's a senior technical manager for a small chemical company in Connecticut, and they restructured. When organizations restructure, they're usually too many heads, so some heads get taken off the list, and that's what happened to him. So he got laid off. He said, "Heinz, you help me?" So I connected him with some folks, and then you deal with rejections. He wrote me an email and said, "You connected me with 4 people, and they won't answer my emails." He said, "They're busy. And you can't get on their priority list because you don't know them and they don't know you. And what's in it for them so far? They don't know yet. If they're looking for your resume and looking for someone with your skills, then you're a candidate. But if you're just kind of a call to say, hey, I just want to talk to you about something, not everybody does. I do. I love talking to people, but not everybody does. I don't know if it's a weakness of mine or not. I talk to just about anybody. So, because that answers the question, I would talk to people first and be as bold as that and say, so what do you like about it? What do you like? I'll ask you, what do you like about being a yoga instructor?
Just sharing my passion of teaching and being able to help people, fitness, coming down, saying, it's a purpose.
Perfect. It's your purpose. I am helping people calm down. You yourself, you're staying healthy, right? And kind of share one of my daughters in Florida she's a certified as a yoga instructor. She's the one that we can't go and see them without going to a yoga class like 6 in the morning. I would try to sleep, even if I'm just lying and looking at the ceiling, I can pretend. But no, try that, let's go to yoga class. My hips are all stretched out, which is good for me, I guess, she would say. But yeah, so that captures it well, exactly what you said. It's your passion, you're helping other people do that. So you can't learn less than you already know. And there are all kinds of jobs that we can't even imagine what people do. These days, after COVID, all kinds of new, really weird jobs are popping up. I teach engineering at Wayne State. And just the jobs for engineers now, 10 years ago was, you're going to go work at the Marathon Refinery, you're going to go work at BSF. Now it's, you want to go work at Stellantis and make batteries? What? You want to go work for these guys here and work on on battery charging stations. I looked at a electric vehicle a few years ago and I found out there's no charging station close to here. There was one at a Lowe's just down the road here somewhere, and I checked the service. It said it's always busted. Anyways, but your point is perfect. So get your passion, find out what it is you do, and then that becomes contagious to others. So Aaron, does that answer your question? So then the question is, how do you find these people? And a really good way to do that is, I'm a fanatical user of LinkedIn. I started using Facebook only a couple of years ago because I also have kind of a part-time music gig. And musicians don't use LinkedIn, they use Facebook still. So they came here and they said, like, where are you? I said, LinkedIn, what's that? They didn't know. Anyways, my suggestion there is to go on LinkedIn. And once you go into LinkedIn, I'm glad to show you how to do this. Once you have a profile on LinkedIn, you can say, jobs, find me some jobs. Find me some jobs in this geography. Find me some jobs with this company. And then you can start looking at stuff and you can apply it really easily. It doesn't say apply now. Just attach your resume and it's gone. But it's really simple and really powerful to use, really powerful tool to use. I've given talks to students about it. You know, some students said, so why should I use LinkedIn? Well, there are 700 million, wait a minute, 700 million users of LinkedIn. That's 10% of the human population. You want to miss that? A network? No, you want to be in that. You don't have to use it all the time, but you want to use it. And you can search for just about anything. You can post stuff and have some reputation about this.
I can't speak for everybody else, but I guess I'm 25% of the group. Your focus today seems to be on careers, jobs, but is that what brought everybody here? Or what about passions and purposes that aren't necessarily what you use to pay for your groceries?
They're still related though, aren't they?
They are, but don't you think there's an opportunity there to be a little bit, I don't want to say more frivolous, but a little bit more, not burdened with for a job? I mean, it's a whole other mentality.
No,
Somewhat.
I like the way you put that. You just said you don't have to do this to feed yourself. Then it almost becomes, and this is what has been thrown at me, it almost becomes a hobby then. So there's the difference between a job, career, and a hobby.
But don't you think the soul searching and the passion is even more exemplified or even more?
It could be.
I mean, because I know looking for my job or my career or what was going to put groceries on the table, that was more practical. That was more responsibility.
Right.
By the way, I've got 35 years in banking.
I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for us. I'm glad there are people that are in banking because it's not me. Thank you so much.
I guess now, having said that, I guess, you know, yoga seems to be your passion and teaching and helping. That's awesome if you can earn money doing that like you do, but don't you think that's different than when you were looking for your job that was engineering related?
If I go back those 35 years, yes,
Yeah.
then it was. I was newly married and said, okay, family, house, stuff like that, then what can I do for this? And my passion around helping others at that time, there wasn't any passion.
Exactly.
I stumbled into it. I stumbled into it by starting to do it. And I said, this is really neat. When I helped Joanne look for a job, she gets one. Wow.
And I found that too in banking. I was a banking center manager and then did mortgage work for a while. Helping people understand such an important part of their lives was a huge payoff to me.
Yeah.
And helping people, helping them through life situations
Right.
are horrible.
Yeah.
And I did get a lot out of that. And I learned a lot about myself doing that. But different point in my life now. And I think my passions and so forth are a little bit different.
They can move. They can change, right?
They pivoted.
Yeah, they could. As we grow and change our
Yeah.
relationships, they can change. Yeah. So I don't think I answered your question well.
No, but you help me think it through.
Is it
but-
like for a life plan, like, because
Yeah,
I've done, like where they say do a 25-year life plan,
Yeah.
look ahead, what is it? You're at a certain age, where do you want to be, whatever, 20 years down the road, it could be in relationships, it could be,
Sure.
if it's a career, if you still want, because people are working well into their 80s. I mean, everything's shifting with the baby
Yep,
boomers
yep,
for sure.
yep.
And health wise, where you environmentally, where you want to.
Sure.
That's sort of where I was, looking for sort of like, just this really, helps solidify things a little bit more. And then, but it's, just to look at others are searching for a life plan as well, whether you're your age or my age or,
Something that
Well-
you got it, Andy.
Well, what I'm thinking is perhaps you put on a class like some of these other presenters about banking and teach others that may not have had that opportunity and are looking for additional information on that. So, I'm a policeman. I've been one for 10 years, or excuse me, 20 years now. I've got about 10 to go. And my plan is I've got the next 10 pretty well planned out as far as my career goes. I'm looking to build after that because I can't stop that.
Yeah.
So, and I've got some ideas. I just need to get there.
It might, if I can come back to this picture here, it might be, well, where does this end? And that's where I have what I suggest to people, this is all your time. I've been brainstorming on here. It's up to you. It's your math. I have on mine the one that I handed you from 1985. What I suggest is end for now here. I did one of these with the person was a brand new chemist and industry. He had about 20 boxes all the way up the wall over there. Carl, I want you to think of two things. One of them is you're going to learn something every day. Of course, I'm smart. I'm going to learn something. That means decisions you make today might be different tomorrow because you're smart. Yeah. And the other thing is he was in a global cryptic organization. It's always reorganizing, it's doing this. It's moving all the time. So I said, when you draw out boxes cast here, they may or may not even be there if you're looking at an organization. But if you're looking at a career and what does you want to do, your passions may change and fine tune because of what you've learned. I didn't know when I was 30 that I would be passionate about helping other people. I thought, man, I got a mortgage, I got kids, I got these things. Those became my priorities. And then I slowly evolved into that by seeing, when you help people, they do well. Isn't that cool? It's not like, well, look how smart I am, helping you do well. But it just became so rewarding for me. I said, that's what I really want to do. So when I pivoted, that's what I'm doing now. So this is all your stuff. So the next one here could be, again, I almost am glad, but it could be running a studio or becoming an instructor, or I don't know, like I said, giving talks on this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to probably do a little bit. I do teach. I have been teaching. But
Yeah.
I never would have thought going from an academic teacher and I did other jobs as well part-time, and then, like I just got the, love for, yoga, and it's, you're helping, you can, work with vets, I've had vets come into my classes and there's other passions, writing, health and fitness.
Where classes at?
Here at the library, one's here, and I'm at studios in Trenton also. But
So does that help? I kind of weaseled around the answer to the question thing, but does it help you think about it?
I think too much. I was hoping you could help.
Think for you.
I mean, but just kind of. I always say take spaghetti and make lasagna. Take something that's all and then make it.
Yeah. So you.
But yeah, you have provided tools for sure.
So are you in your what I'll call social? Are you a very well organized person and like to have things pretty much precise, right? And there's an advantage to that. There's stuff on social styles. That's a different area to work in and talk about. A lot of these things are. I don't know if you guys would know what Myers-Briggs styles analyses are. Whatever some of you would know those are. But one of the ones that I have taught this is a little different. One of those styles is to be very precise, to be right. And it's almost like a need. I just need to be right, and I need to do this. And that's the upside, is people that have that as a preference. It's not what you are. It's just your comfort zone. I just like being like this. I like being. Other people would call that being a nitpicker. My style is more to be what's called driver. I like to be in charge. I like to make decisions, and I like to push people to do stuff. Which means he's the bloody boss. Okay? That's the downside. That's everyone's got a plus and a minus to it. I give you an example. My wife and I go walking almost every day. And I said to her, "Oh, it's about freezing outside." Looks at her phone. Well, it's actually 28. What's freezing? 32. 28 is about. She was right. I was close. Wonderful. I mean, it's wonderful to have that kind of compromise and stuff like that. So it's just a watch out then. That'd be something that you could look at and explore and say, so how do I use my style? If you're working in banking, gosh, you need to be precise. Right? If you're working in medicine, you don't want to have a heart operation with an approximate slice or something like that. So there's strengths to it, but every style has got different strengths. Does anybody else have any questions?
I have a question for you.
Sure.
When you are doing projects like home projects, how do you find new learning? Are you look it up on a YouTube and then just do it? Or are you just the kind of guy that said, screw it, I'm just gonna go ahead and try this?
Depends on what it is. So,
I think everybody says it.
yeah, typically with electricity, I try and look it up and try and be as accurate as I can. But as far as building things, cutting, whatever, like I said, I can read quite a bit of two houses. I'll try it how I think it should go and maybe try it a second time. And if that's not going, then I'll go see, what a professional would do and then try and mimic what they did. Yeah.
And then how do you teach yourself new things? Like, whether it's a different type of, specifically a yoga, or if it's something that's like, oh, this is kind of like yoga, but it's a little bit different. I'd like to maybe try that. How do you teach yourself? How do you?
It could be the internet, YouTube, or if I see something, or again, contacts, with people, reading. I like to read, and I always like motivational, reading, and it just sort of evolves, and I'm a thinker too. It's like I overthink too much, and sometimes you just let it go, and then things start coming to you, and you have to recognize it. And then, like you said, when it starts coming, you just have to grab it,
It's interesting that Andy just said, he said, when you look at electrical stuff, you really look at that because there's no small mistakes there.
There's no small mistakes.
There's no small mistakes in electrical stuff.
Yeah.
But others.
You can cut a 2x4 a couple times. Or get another one, no big deal. But the house burns down.
Yeah, those are twice cut once, but that's all approximate anyways. They're just 2x4. They're not even 2x4 inches. Because they're shaped up. But yeah, you don't want to have any mistakes with electrical systems. Again, if you would, I'd appreciate it just for myself. If you would send me an email and just say, hi, I was in your class. And then again, if there's anything I need help, you contact some folks, because I've got lots of contacts doing lots of different things. If not, I can reach out to other people here. Say, well, I don't have a person for that, but I know somebody that does this. I'll read it to you again. It's H, that's my name, Heinz. My wife's name is Marilyn. So Heinz and Marilyn Plaumann at Gmail. I've got about 5 email addresses and some of them work well.